Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Are you looking for a place to take a leak? Do you have a truck, tractor, or other hydraulic equipment leaking or not performing as it should? At Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, we can get you back to work. Do you have a busted or leaking hose? We can typically replace them while you wait. Hydraulic cylinder or pump needing repair? In many cases, we can have it back to you the next day. Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, 6840 Highway 77 in Southport, just south of Tractor Supply. The best place in town to take a leak.
That boot store reminds you, with the warmer weather usually means spring is just around the corner. That boot store will help you celebrate any time of the year with one of the widest selections of Western wear in the area. They can fit the smallest to the largest, so bring the family and dress up Western style at an affordable price. Carhartt work clothes are available too. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5, Friday and Saturday, 9 till 5:30. Next to Bill Burkey at 15th Street, that boot store where God is good all the time.
Visit the newly remodeled Mid-South Lumber Hardware and Feed Store in Youngstown. They have a full line of plumbing, electrical, hardware, and tools for your DIY home projects, as well as lumber and animal feed. Now offering not only baby chicks and a full line of poultry supplies, but also bunnies and parakeets. They also carry a wide selection of Duplin wines and gourmet products, so you don't have to drive to the beach. Come see us at Mid-South Lumber on Highway 231
Powered
in
by
Youngstown.
Panama City Toyota. Your home for Auburn Tiger basketball. WGSX Lynn Haven. WPLQ Port St. Joe. ESPN Northwest Florida. Get ready.
Deep center field and heading for the horizon.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
Onion pickles, onions, pickles.
The Afternoon Underdogs
Way back and gone.
on ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick, and we'll have Tyler Bishop in the building with us shortly. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN, Northwest Florida 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We are your home for the regular season SEC champion Auburn Tigers, and they have a game this evening at 7:30. Coverage will start for an 8 p.m. tip. We got Tyler Bishop in the house drinking the Gatorlight, man. Is that one of your favorite versions of Pedialyte?
I like it. Strawberry kiwi is pretty solid flavor. For most any kind of drink, like even Capri Sun right back in the day, that was one of the go-tos. But I don't know. I got on some of these when I was under the weather about a month ago.
Right. That's when they hit right.
That's when I was like, all right, yeah, I can get behind some of these. But yeah, we're good.
Capri Sun, I ain't heard about that in a little while, but kind of funny. I had a dude I used to hang out with, a buddy of mine I used to work with, and he combined it. Instead of Capri Sun, it was always Capri Sun. Capri Sun.
Oh, Capri Sun. What is that? A Capri salad that you want? Oh my goodness. 850-215-6290 is the number to call or text. I hope you guys are out there having a great afternoon. Spring break traffic is upon us, so make sure that you're watching out for bikes, watching out for cars, and just being as safe as you possibly can out there. How was your ride into work this afternoon? Or not into work, into the show this afternoon?
Traffic's definitely you can
picked
tell
up some
increasing a little bit. Like not quite full on spring break.
No. This is the
difference
early.
In like 2 weeks ago and like this week. I've definitely noticed coming out for work and the show and everything else. You feel it a little bit.
Now, back when we used to have our spring breaks, right? And beyond high school and maybe even beyond some of the collegiate years as well. What was I going to say? The traffic was a different animal. We were kind of talking about that yesterday. But did you just focus on your week of spring break, or was spring break for you 2 months long?
I mean,
for me, it was 2 months long. I'm just being honest about that.
For sure. I mean, obviously, especially in high school and stuff, being here, it was easy to just kind of go along with it for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Rick, did you ever experience any fun spring break happenings around here?
I mean, I moved here when I was 19, man, back in 96.
Oh, yeah.
It was the end of 96, November. So the first inclination I had living here was spring break 97. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. I'll be honest there, man. I started, the underage libations and stuff like that and other things. And, times were like, man, to wake up someplace, didn't know where I was at, had to find my truck. Like, where the hell did I park that thing?
Falling asleep on the beach alone. Like, there's the whole, where am I at waking up phase. But if you fall asleep, say, 12 p.m. on a Tuesday and you wake up, it's like 1:30 and you don't even know how sunburnt you are.
Man, it was different, like, because especially for Rick pre-social media, right? Like, even when us in high school, like, there's a little bit of Facebook and whatever, right? But it's not like anything like it is today.
No,
with everything.
You gotta be careful.
It was a little bit easier to be just a little bit more discreet, low key back in the day.
Nowadays, too, there's video cameras everywhere. Everybody's got one in their pocket, and they're on buildings and everything.
They're everywhere else around.
You gotta be careful, man.
Yep, and I mean, I think once you get plus 30, I think your time with spring break hopefully is done. But if not, maybe find yourself some clubs, which I believe are closing at 2 a.m., right? So
I think so, yeah.
We got clubs.
Some of them, I don't know if we actually
have
have
the two big ones have been done for a while now.
My scene is a couch and a TV and whatever sports I can find, or actually recently, since about November, I've been diving into more movies. I instead of just getting 15-20 minutes into them, I'm closer to like the 45 1 hour minute mark. And so and it really depends on what kind of sports are going on at the point in time. This is kind of almost prime time to watch movies, if you will, but also right here on the precipice of March Madness. How about your Georgia Bulldogs? Do you think they make the tournament this year?
So during the show last Tuesday, I think there was like a 40% chance they made it. We ended up beating Florida that night.
Yeah,
big game in the Steg up there in Athens, and I think overnight our tournament chances jumped 40%, and then we Texas again, just doing Georgia things at this point.
Georgia things,
Texas and everything.
Big dogs.
But that was a big one because they're kind of one of those fringe bubble teams with Georgia that Georgia's going to be kind of battling it out. So get a nice road win. It's huge for Georgia going to the tournament. So I think now it's looking pretty good. 2 games left: South Carolina and Vanderbilt. As long as we go 1-1 in those, and I think we probably still need to win 1 game in the SEC tournament just to kind of solidify that spot. But it'd be the first tournament berth for Georgia in a decade. So
wow.
We've just never been a traditional basketball school. We had Dominic Wilkins back in the early to mid 80s, but outside of that, like,
it could change. Look at what Alabama's doing.
Exactly.
Look at Auburn right now,
and it's something that a lot of Georgia fans want. Like, they want to be at least a better. Like, nobody's expecting to be
when the conference
school
starts going upwards like that, then all the rest of the schools, especially schools who are dominant in football and have good baseball schools as well, they want to be a part of the trend.
Let me ask you this:
go ahead.
Would you rather your team make the tournament but be kind of like, you're not going to win the tournament and you're like barely probably even going to make it to like the round of 32 or maybe get lucky to Sweet 16, or go to the NIT and dominate and win the NIT? What would you prefer?
So, I'm not a diehard Georgia basketball fan, but I think, we make the tournament so few and far between. It's been like 5 times in the past 20, 25 years. So, like, I think at that point, you'd probably just rather, especially if you're saying a Sweet 16 run, like, that's a pretty big accomplishment, for a non-basketball school. So I'd probably take the actually making the tournament and winning a game or 2 in there. That'd be huge for Mike White. This is his 3rd year in Athens. Like, going into next year, we got a relatively young team. If some of those guys come back, like, it could be a really exciting basketball season for Georgia next year.
That answer is easy for me because in the years that Alabama missed the big dance and made the NIT tournament, I could count on one hand the amount of NIT games that I've watched of Alabama. Now, in general, I think I need 4 hands, but I don't think that I've watched more than 20 NIT games. So for me, give me a one and done every year over the NIT tournament. I don't know how much longer. We talk about bowl games being irrelevant in college football because of the college football playoff. How much longer does the NIT end up lasting? Or is it a different beast because it's a different sport?
I just think that, not that you can't get hurt playing basketball. We just saw Kyrie last night towards ACL, and that's terrible. And AD, the Mavericks, ever since they traded Luka, they've just been getting
downhill, man. AD one game
ever since Mark Cuban's got like hands off. That franchise.
I just think the odds of getting seriously and career-endingly or even draft-endingly, and I think the NBA draft's only like 2 rounds, right?
2 rounds,
you're not talking guys that are potentially. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the draft plays as big of a part. And again, it's not nearly.
And the guys who are playing in those games, they already know.
Yeah.
If you know that you're being drafted in a 2-round draft, first off, you know that you're going to be first round, second round, and you probably know if you're going to be a first or a second rounder by the time that the NIT tournament comes around.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's not guys who play in the NIT that get drafted every year. I don't follow the NBA draft quite to that extent, but I think the odds of you getting, like I said, I mean, you may roll your ankle. You may strain something, but I just don't think you're going to get hurt significantly enough playing back. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I just think the odds are so much lower.
Right.
That we're probably a little bit farther out from opting out of the NIT. I could be wrong. We could see it this year. I don't know. But it's weird, though, that it hasn't become a thing like it has in college football.
Yeah, like
you don't see it in baseball, like the college. Well, I guess they don't really have a.
They don't really have a
postseason, quote unquote pointless.
Well, because you got. You have a large amount of teams, just like you do in college basketball, which has always kind of baffled me about the NIT tournament. It's like there's already 64 when I was growing up. Now we're up to 68. Doesn't look like we're going to be headed too soon to 72. But yeah, you got college baseball with the regionals and super regionals, then the College World Series. Softball is primarily the same exact way, but you don't ever. And I guess it's because there's a lot more people focused on the college football season and what happens there compared to the basketball season. Not saying that obviously they got a lot of fans, but it's just a different animal.
The second most like equitable sport. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as producing money, it's one of the few sports that there's a few schools whose basketball teams either break even or make money. Not a whole lot. But there's no other collegiate sport besides football that actually produces any sort of money. So, right. I mean, it's easily the number 2 sport for college athletics as far as our revenue.
What would college athletics be like if it was essentially up to the university to pay for these sanctions to or for these games to happen?
I don't know, man. It'd be
like, let's say football's not even a sport at the collegiate level because it's too violent. All right. Do universities still give out scholarships to kids to get them to come to school? How would that work?
Maybe the thing is, though, football is 85 scholarships. So, I mean, and because of Title IX, like that's a vast majority of their men's scholarships they give out are to football. So you take away 85 scholarships, and then you can take away a lot of women's scholarships at that point, too, just to balance it out. Now, basketball is what? 15-ish guys probably on a team.
I would say 15. I know NBA roster, I believe, is at 12 to 13.
So college is probably, even 20. And baseball is another 20. You know, you're not talking. And
no, baseball's like.
Is it a lot
11 point.
Oh, well, I was just talking about like on the roster in general, right? I know a lot of those
roster
like
size scholarships. Yeah, gotcha.
Just talking like if you wanted to give everybody full scholarships, you know. How much does 40 scholarships, and call it 80 if you want to be equal, 40 women?
Depends on the university you're going to. If you're going, if you're comparing like Miami versus Alabama, then there is, and I don't know if this works because I wasn't a scholarship or how it works. I wasn't a scholarship athlete, but if you're out of state, you have to pay out of state tuition even as an athlete, right?
Yeah.
So does the scholarship therefore then cost $110,000 compared to $56,000?
I guess my bigger point was like it doesn't cost the university a ton. Like, if we're talking like whole or like resale or what it was, what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really cost the University of Georgia to have 100 extra kids on campus.
Right.
It may cost $80,000 a year to go to whatever school, but it's not costing the school $80,000 to have a student.
It shows where they can write that stuff off.
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, I don't know how much, obviously then at that point, the big money drains or the facilities and the coaches and everything like that's where you start talking the real money. But I'd be curious. I'd love to see those numbers. Like how much does it cost a university? Like I said, take out the number because like I said, tuition can cost $45,000, but it doesn't cost the University of Alabama $45,000 to educate a student on a yearly basis.
How about this?
Well, but professors' salaries
but you're paying the
and all
professor
that
either
stuff.
way, even if you had 2 kids to his class.
There's a lot of schools too.
You know what I'm saying?
But would they be getting paid that much though?
I don't know. That's what like I said, I'd love to see the breakdown from some kind of.
How about all the alums that are like funneling all this cash to these universities if they didn't have that outlet like the sports and stuff? Like, one, would they contribute as much as they do? And then 2, how much would it be? Because you're not building libraries and you're not building like business, academic type buildings like every year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once it's built, like it's good for like a while.
Oh, it should be at least.
Yeah, it should be. But the way that we move these days, I don't even get me started on the automotive world and the direction that's kind of headed in a sense of like if you've got a truck or a car from 2000 and let's say Well, what do you think the year is? Being that you work at 2009, you actually can tinker on something from 2009 and before, but anything 2010 and newer is like, you got to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of electronics. There's like, I mean, if you even take it off of like an interior door panel to like mess with a window switch or something, you'll throw codes for like, seat belts and stuff like that.
Now your car's just, it sounds like RD2 or whatever.
Unfortunately, we live in a disposable world. Like cars used to be made where like you can continually buy parts, you can work on them yourself in your garage, and like do things like that and maintain them over years. Now they're just as disposable as like a television set. We used to have television repairmen, we used to have vacuum cleaner repair guys. Hell, we used to have shoe repair people, right? Yeah. And I mean, everything's disposable. Now that's even up there with cars nowadays, because nowadays most people keep a car for what the length of the term of the loan, not even that, and then they're like trading in and get something new, and then the next person that gets it. But you get to a lot of these cars 8-10 years old, there's a lot of stuff that you got money you got to dump into, especially like these hybrid vehicles with all these like big batteries. Sometimes if you have to replace that battery, that's
almost more than the car, right?
$12,000 on some of these cars. And then they want to talk about how green it is, right? Like, because you're not burning fossil fuels and gas. But then again, all the components that go into these batteries, if they're not recycled properly, that's just as bad for the environment, if not worse.
Yeah. It's counterproductive. As soon as you said that, I think you said built to last or something like that. Well, I was like, wasn't there a car company whose slogan was built to last? And of course, it's found on road deads. Fords.
Flip over, redirection.
There you go. Built to last. And they came up with this in 1998. And you got to have an inkling of an idea that in 1998, Ford had some understanding that they were moving more to this disposable car, if you will. But built to last. Back to the college question, though. How much it costs to educate a student. Now, this is a Google AI overview, so it's not going to be direct, and we're talking about averages. According to recent data, or how do you say it, data or data?
I think it kind of depends. Like,
I say it different ways.
Yeah, it really kind of like, and I can't say like there's a set parameter for when I say what.
Right.
It's just sometimes I'll say data, sometimes I'll say data. It really just depends on how I'm feeling in the moment.
Take that for data.
I was having a conversation with someone here in this building the other day, and I believe I said it like data, and then they used the word in their next sentence, and they said data, and I was like, did I just say it wrong? I don't know. Anyways, according to the data, the average cost for a university to educate a student at a 4-year institution public is around $14,000 per year. So you were right, though. It's not anywhere close to $45,000.
That's higher than I expected, though.
Higher than you expected.
14, yeah.
Okay.
I guess my point was more, they're already paying for the buildings in the professors and everything, so adding 100 athletes isn't increasing their costs a whole lot.
I mean, even at 100 athletes.
They can do it cheaper, though, man. If you look at schools and all these like universities nowadays, they have so much of like an excess of administrators and people that are on the payroll that they could totally do away with.
Well, you got to pay for the safe spaces, though, right?
I don't know, man.
What do you mean you don't know? Come on, it's 2025. If you don't have a safe space, someone might get scared.
Up the security a little bit. And put your big boys pants on, You don't need your parents holding your hand when you go to school.
There we go.
I mean, you got kids that are graduating nowadays, you've heard, that like their mommies and daddies are going with them to job interviews. And these are kids that graduated like 4-year degrees out of universities. What kind of crap is that? When I was 16 and got a job at a fast food restaurant in a mall, I didn't have mommy and daddy go to the interview with me. Hell, they didn't even drive me to it. You know what I mean? So
why do you think on my first interview, I think the only thing that I ever got help with was my mom helping me fill out the application for. I was like, I don't know, what is my social security number? Give me the card. And then I had to learn a pretty big lesson when one time I thought I lost my wallet. Them good old Velcro wallets back in the day. I had a good old Alabama one. I lost my wallet and I put everything important.
I mean, you wanted it with you, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think I was like 14 or 15 years old. And luckily it was somewhere in the house. I forget where it was, but my mom found it, and she was like, you can't lose this. You can't lose your birth certificate, all that kind of stuff. I don't know true that is today. I just don't keep my social security card on me.
I got a birth certificate card in my wallet.
Because if you can give me a credit card with your social address and all that good stuff, I can maybe make out
Verified.
like a bandit.
Yeah, no, I can promise you.
And then call you like, hey, what? See, you just got a code. I'm not really sure where it's from, but I need that one right now.
let me borrow that real quick.
I was born in a military base, and I got this little birth certificate card right
keep
here.
yours on you.
And it's laminated and stuff. But I'm serious though. It's like it's a legal like birth certificate, but it's like a card size, and I got it because I was born on a military base, and it's the same as like getting a piece of paper that's like like a 9x12.
Oh, so that's your birth certificate right there. That's not your social.
No, I got my social as well, but this is a version of a birth certificate. So,
ladies and gentlemen, if you rob Caveman Rick, you'll be able. You're good to go.
You too can become Caveman Rick.
Yeah, there you go. Identity theft 101. That is pretty neat though. What base were you? You were born on a base?
Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri.
Yep. What was your favorite Air Force base that you that you lived at for a certain amount of time?
That's kind of tough. I only lived on that one. I lived on McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, and I lived on Lodges in the Azores, where my mom's from.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, probably McGuire, because it was still here in the States. When I was overseas, I was 15 years old, small island. We had one TV channel. Anybody out there that's a military person knows Armed Forces Network. So basically, you were either watching what was on or you weren't watching nothing unless you had like VHS tapes or, playing video games. So that was kind of a drag, especially, like I said, at 15 years old. I remember when I first came back after being over there for 9 months. When I was over there, that's when Beavis and Butthead first came out. So I come back and everybody's telling me about Beavis and Butthead. And it wasn't like it was today where you could just watch reruns, like on demand. So I had to wait for the next season to come out. So it was a few months and I been hearing about it, never watched nothing, saw a couple small commercials and I was like, what's that about? And then I just got hooked and I was on it, dude. And I was all about me some Beavis and Butthead after that.
That's funny. I was watching one of those, how much things cost now compared to how much they costed back in the day. When the VCR first came out, it was like $399. That's kind of insane. And this is like, what, 80s, right?
The cassette popped out the top instead of sticking it in the front. And that was also when they had Betamax, too. That was the competitor.
I don't think I ever watched anything on Betamax or ever...
I had a few friends that had that and watched a few videos and stuff on there, but the cassettes were a little bit smaller. Same kind of premise.
So it's basically like Xbox compared to GameCube.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Even though they're both different consoles. They do the same thing.
But
the
one
difference
was a disc,
is, you couldn't use PS2 on Xbox, but their disc sizes were the same.
Yeah, VHS just for whatever reason surpassed the Betamax, and then like VHS became like the thing, with all the video stores. But at the video stores when I was a kid, you could rent movies that were, they had Betamax and VHS.
X-rated.
At where?
Extra. Oh,
no, I'm sure they probably had those. I wasn't old enough to go back behind the curtain though in the video store.
Well, you were saying in the Azores though, right?
No, they had this when I was a kid growing up, like in New Jersey and stuff like that. And when I was like living overseas, that we'd had videos like VHS tapes, but that was long after Betamax was gone. Beta was done probably by like 1985, 1984.
Yeah, so I was -7, -7 or -6 around that time. Were you an Xbox or a PlayStation guy? Well,
I was PlayStation because I wasn't going to pay for no subscriptions to play, for anything like that. Like when they started doing the pay for play, PlayStation was always free for like quite a while. Plus Xbox always had the dreaded
when did that
Ring
stop?
of Death.
PS3, I think.
And I didn't want the Ring of Death either, so I stuck with PlayStation because I didn't want to like buy a system and then get screwed and not be able to play it.
You know why I'm an Xbox guy to this day, even though I've played my buddy's PS5, and I will say, if you're an Xbox user out there, someone let me know. Do they have controllers like what the PS5 controllers are like, where you have like the tension on the right and left trigger, or R2 and L2? Like, is there an Xbox controller out there like that? Because I would really like one, and I need to get a new controller.
I'm sure they got the modded ones for a lot of those video gamers that like to play like the COD type games and the first-person shooters and stuff.
Can't spend that much on a controller, though. My goodness, that's the hard part. Like, just your normal everyday controller these days. We're like $79.99 or something like that.
How that's always been expensive.
To be honest, though, video games, if like back when I came from, they haven't changed a whole lot though. A video game cartridge back in the day when I had the original Nintendo Entertainment System was $50. Nowadays, they've gone up more now because of the content, and they got these special editions and stuff.
What console are you saying it was $50 on?
Nintendo Entertainment System, the original NES. Okay,
they were $50.
They were like, when I got Legend of Zelda. Okay, when I got it for Christmas, the original NES with Rob the Robot and everything. I remember I was picking it out at KB Toy Store in the mall.
KB
and I wanted Super Mario Brothers, and I wanted Legend of Zelda, and it came with Duck Hunt on its own disc with the original
gun,
with the original gray on gray gun, not the orange gun. I had the gray on gray gun. Okay,
wait,
the original.
when you say the orange gun, are you talking about the tip of the gun being orange?
The tip and the handle, or whatever, the tip and like some logo. But the original gun was gray on gray, and the reason why they changed that, up in the Northeast, I don't know, it was Connecticut, New York, or something like that. A kid was outside playing with one at night or something. He got shot by a cop because the cop thought he had a real gun in his hand.
Yeah, I mean,
and when that happened, that's when Nintendo had changed, and that's when they came out with the orange gun.
He used the person who got shot was using a Nintendo gun?
The kid had a gun. He had the NES gun in his hand, the light gun. He was like outside doing something or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what the whole story was because I was a kid, but a kid got shot when he had that gun in his hand because a police officer, because it was gray on gray at night and it was dark out, thought it was a real gun.
And it's hard to fault the officer.
So after that, they changed it to the orange gun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I remember we used to have some very realistic airsoft and BB gun. Not like the airsoft that they that's
the old original Sega
CO2 CO2 BB guns.
The old original Sega gun for the original Sega Master System, that was a black gun. So it was on the same premise where like something like that could happen as well.
Yeah. Be careful.
And those guns won't even work on the TVs we got now because you have to have an old tube style TV for those things to work.
Is that a fact?
Yes, that's a fact. You can't do it on these flat screens and LCD screens that you have. If you want to play like the nostalgic, like the old NES system, if you have
I just can't imagine myself wanting to play Duck Hunter. You're like, hey kid, you want to see some 8-bit graphics?
It was a fun game.
It was, but like look at the games you can immerse yourself in today when it comes to hunting and fishing, know?
Yeah, but I mean,
fishing games not as fun as the hunting games for me.
When that game came out.
Oh, absolutely. Ahead of its time then, way beyond, or way behind its time now. I mean, all sports game, really, it's almost like, I don't know how the graphics keep getting better. Because since, 2015 to 2018, what year do you think, like, the graphics kind of, all right, maybe you can... The way that they move, their motions and stuff, you can change that. But as far as like the actual graphics, they're pretty crisp.
Solid 6 or 8 years probably. That it's been like, dang, like it's.
Technology is all about exponential growth. That's why you got like 8-bit to 16-bit, 6-bit, 16 to 36, 36 to 64, and so on. So,
yeah, we're going to try to talk sports in the next segment live from the Bendians Best Move Studios. Give Quentin a call at 850-583-0814. Ohio Brad says, I still play Age of Empires 2 on PC. Any of y'all ever played Age of Empires? Not much of a, I think the game that I liked growing up, I liked Roller Coaster Tycoon, PC games. Roller Coaster Tycoon was fun.
It was.
Getting all the people to throw up on your roller coaster that you built. And then what was the other one?
Sid Meier's Civilization is what I played. Something
like that. That was not... say the name again?
Sid Meier's Civilization. That's where you could be like the Aztecs or the Romans or whatever.
I played games similar to that, and I like that.
And like try to rule the world.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what Age of Empires is like, but I'm ignorant to it. So Ohio Brad, guess what? We have a free segment coming up. So why don't you call in 850-215-6290 and tell us all about Age of Empires and push us off of sports for just one more segment. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be
Keep the game going with ESPN Northwest Florida. Just because you get out of the car doesn't mean the Sports Talk and Live play-by-play have to end. Just say, hey Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida. From Michigan Avenue to the man cave, from the car to the kitchen, we've got you covered. Keep the game going. Hey Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon, this is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Tuesday. Partly sunny the rest of the day with a strong breeze out of the south-southeast at 21 miles per hour, gusting up to 31 miles per hour and temps near 72. Tonight we will have possible thunderstorms and clouds and be quite warm at 64. Mostly sunny tomorrow at a high 69. Mostly sunshine Thursday with a temp of 62. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601. 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Auburn basketball is chasing another SEC championship.
Jones a screen, stop and top three straight away. Good! It's Miles Kelly, right wing, outside the arc, working on Warren. Three. Boom! Absolute dagger.
The Tigers clash with Texas A&M in College Station. Coverage at 7:30. Tip off at 8 p.m. tonight on your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
He likes to lift weights in a parking lot and eat Weight Gainer 3000.
I'm really starting to feel out nasty.
David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs in the doghouse with David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. And we just got done talking about video games, Air Force bases, all kind of things, nothing pertaining to sports. So please keep it locked into ESPN Northwest.
We talked a little college basketball to start.
Yeah, we did.
We quickly derailed really quickly.
You know, tangent Tuesday, tangent Wednesday. I really don't know. Monday is probably my most
organized.
So you're
I wouldn't
saying
even say
Brian keeps
organized.
you on the rails?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I have so many guests because RJ, Steve, and then PCB Hobby, where it's like, all right, those are dedicated. Boom, we're going in that direction. So our tangents are simply 440, and 540. And we've got a lot to catch up on in those times. So no one, it's hard to keep. I think the only thing that could possibly keep this mind organized would be like a prescription for Adderall or something. And then I'll probably just be in here like, you guys talk about it. I don't know. I have no idea, man. But I do enjoy that. I enjoy that aspect of the show, that we kind of just go wherever the wind takes us. And we'll go anywhere you guys want to take us as well. 850-215-6290. Again, you don't want to miss out on the Auburn Tigers. They've got a big one tonight, 7:30 for the coverage, and it will be an 8 p.m. tip. And this is how we got started last time. So let's talk a little NFL here. Caveman Rick, as an Eagles fan, Saquon Barkley, just after 1 year with the Eagles, has now become the highest paid running back in the league, and I believe highest. Yeah,
Ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's awesome, man. The dude came into town. We paid him to begin with. He did everything he was expected to do and more. We're going to expect him to do the same the next couple seasons.
The same or more, because he's already done the most that's ever been done when you include regular and postseason.
Hey, why not do more? And if he can, then why not, us be the next dynasty? I would love to see that, And, I mean, he's happy. He's, like, jovial all the time. He wants to be there. So, he's going to give it his best and his all. He's not going to, like, be on load management and not just be trying. He wants to, I'm sure, maybe eclipse what he did this past season and actually get the rushing record.
Yeah, get the real the single season rushing record,
So I'm totally stoked, I mean, we're paying him money, but
y'all had the money to kind of, I hate to say give away, but y'all had the money because of how well Howie Roseman has done as the GM over there, how well you guys have drafted, basically just saying, hey, Kirby, send them to us.
Right.
And they've worked out. That's the even better part about it, right? Because when you draft names, they don't always work out. But for the most part, I think this is a blueprint that might need to be followed a little bit more closely, not to a T, but getting guys who have cohesion already built in, and then when they're communicating at a higher level than what other guys are, and they can learn faster as well.
But we're also not having to make a stretch like when we're drafting people. We're set up and we have depth already, right?
Yeah, you've got the core built.
So we're not having to go out and like, hey man, we totally need this position, and like because we're strapped and we have to go get somebody now, and we have to like make sure we get somebody in a particular position slot, or like we might get screwed, or not be able to pick somebody up like on free agency or whatever. Because of the depth that we have, we can pick the right people at the right time, the right slot, and hell, luckily, people have been falling to us too. Like we getting Jalen Carter fell to us. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then when you make good picks like Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean,
I was about to say
dudes that like right away can come in and they can contribute right off the rip, and not have to sit for a year or two and kind of like develop a little bit. There's something to that. So man, we're in just like the best spot like you can be in, and the NFC right now is not the strongest of the two divisions. I think a lot of people would argue. Just wait till the
Dallas Cowboys get done with this offseason.
Okay, yeah. Speaking about them, Jimmy Johnson just retired, right?
Yeah.
One less Cowboys sympathizer on the airwaves.
Man, isn't it wild, though? Jimmy Johnson, what was he, like 80? Or is he? He's still alive. 83 years old, I believe.
No, he's just going to be doing a lot more fishing now.
Well, there you
Good for
go.
him.
I mean, it's going to be wild to see some of these guys that we've spent our whole entire childhood watching on Fox
Who's
and CBS.
next? Bradshaw?
Bradshaw's got to be getting up there, I would imagine.
The fact that Bradshaw hasn't been the first to go, and I love the fact that he is off the cuff. He's not just reading, I'll read whatever you tell me to read and read it verbatim how you want me to.
He's a loose cannon.
Exactly, a loose cannon. I like that. I think TV needs more of that, as long as they're not just being detrimental to your network and just saying that. Publicity is publicity, good or bad. You're getting that. And for me, I like to laugh. And so Terry Bradshaw has made me laugh sometimes out of sheer stupidity, but it causes me to laugh. And you know what? There's joy in that. There's joy in that. I would say Terry Bradshaw will be the next to go. I think Howie Long still got a good ways to go.
This is Fox we're talking about too.
But here's the other thing though. Like, is Howie Long going to be able to fit in with, because they're more than likely going to be adding in younger characters. Is he going to be able to fit in with those guys?
Does the chemistry get taken apart a little bit? Which is definitely possible.
If he doesn't, Howie Long could kick their rear end. It's like, hey, you come in and you fit or we'll kick you out. I mean, he's a tough dude. I don't think he's going to take no crap off of no youngster.
I mean, yeah, but those youngsters aren't too weak themselves.
I mean, Strahan, he just
Strahan or
too much.
Gosh,
he's too much of like, I don't want to say a likable guy, but he does too much stuff, and I think he's trying to be like too likable. I like people that are like, like you said, like Terry Bradshaw, got personality, loose cannon, not afraid to say stuff. I don't want somebody who's all buttoned up too tight.
I think that you need the mix.
Yeah,
I think that you need the mix. You got to have the buttoned up guy, right? The button up. You got to have your I would say play-by-play, but your host, if you will, right? And then you got to have the loose cannon. You got to have the buttoned-up guy, and then you got to have kind of the aloof guy. Like Terry Bradshaw is, I would almost consider. I don't want to say aloof because we're talking about 4-time Super Bowl champion.
But I mean, he's the kind of guy too. People used to joke around about like, you can't even spell the word cat if you spot him the C and the T or something like that.
Yeah, right. And that's what I'm saying. You gotta have you gotta have all of those elements in order. Like NBA, one of the best sports shows, right, is the NBA on TNT, which will now be the NBA on whatever network that it is in the coming years. But you got Chuck, you got Kenny, you got Shaq, right, and then you got Ernie, who like keeps everything held together.
You gotta have a ringleader.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have the ringleader, but you also need those other personalities. And like Chuck is kind of, Shaq's the bully, Chuck's kind of aloof, and then Kenny's kind of your buttoned up guy.
So they get next like a J.J. Watt or like, to bring somebody
J.J.
like
Watt, isn't he already kind of involved in broadcasting?
He is a little bit, but I'm just saying
on Fox.
Like more Fox like as well. But bringing him to like the center stage. I mean,
Jameis Winston is once he's done, he's got to be on the side. I don't want to see him in like a J. What do you mean? No,
I don't want to see Jameis.
Your thoughts?
I'm torn. I could see Jameis being the type of guy like he's great in spurts,
But like, too much of them
would get.
He's too much of a dope, man. He just says too much. Like these
like his clips from like the Super Bowl were fantastic.
Right.
If I'm watching for like
clips,
but could you watch it for 2 hours straight of like? I think at a certain point it would get hard. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it would
be too much. So he would need to be in like a Jay Glazer type role where it's a segment.
Yes,
gotcha.
That'd be more. I mean, I could be dead wrong. In my opinion, for what I've seen of Jameis Winston, like I think that's where his niche is. Like,
no, I can agree with that. I can agree with that, and I can also agree with 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours straight of that. Well, it could possibly be too much.
Yeah.
But again, lots of laughter along the way. Who is another guy, though? I mean, outside of we're talking more of the pregame analysts and stuff than we are talking about play-by-play or color broadcasters.
I think that's an easier spot to fill because I think there is a certain like skill to doing. I mean, you've obviously done a little bit, and you kind of learned the learning curve of that.
Yeah,
and like we've seen with Tom Brady a little bit. People were up and down on him his first year.
A lot of people say that play-by-play is harder than color commentary because you're constantly. My opinion on it, and maybe it's just because I started out doing the play-by-play, but with color, you got to know when to go, when to shut up, when to pass it off, and you got to know what you're talking about too, or at least be entertaining.
Yeah, but then like the pregame is so much more structure, it's so much more whatever. People are writing a lot of the stats for you, and it's easier to kind of throw any personality on there, and they can read off a teleprompter. They can banter, right? So I think it's a lot easier. You know, you find a likable guy, you find a guy who was popular in the league for a while, like I could see maybe like an Aaron Rodgers, like doing some guest spots, like just because he's a name, right?
He's already doing.
You don't think he plays this year?
I'm not saying. I'm not talking about this year specifically. I can see him being a target in the future.
It's not up to him. Somebody's got to sign him. Well, it's up to the teams.
100%. But his name is big enough. I think people would want to. At least to start off with, I think there'd be the intrigue factor. Maybe it worked out, maybe it wouldn't, but I think he would have the opportunity if he wants it.
I think he would fit in with Thursday Night Football with Prime a little bit better with like Tony Gonzalez and that's not where JJ Watt is. JJ is, I believe he is with Fox. I think Aaron Rodgers would be like the perfect person to have. You know how they do those segments of like sit down interviews? Yeah. Have him be the interviewer because he would be able to think of those like, how many hours have you spent in a dark room this year? And that's why you're garbage.
He could be snarky, you know what I'm saying? And he can have that attitude and like, be kind of aloof. So, yeah, I think maybe that might work.
But like you've said, and Tom Brady's kind of the exception to this rule, but it's not often that you see top-tier names end up in the booth.
Yeah.
Ending up in the
Gretzky, look, he's on TNT with the hockey, broadcasting sometimes, not all the time.
But that's mainly like playoffs and
that's what
big
I'm saying,
games, right?
And big stuff like that. But I mean, he's like when you got the best of the best, you know what I'm saying, ever, and he's doing it. That's pretty impressive.
How awesome would it be? Ovi's 11 goals. I don't know if he got one last
like 11,
night. 10 to 11. I'm going to stick with 11. 11 goals away from passing Gretzky.
Sad.
What if? I know it's sad for you, but what if? At that game that he passes him, Gretzky is as an analyst at TNT. Well, they wouldn't be at the game as an analyst
honestly,
like that.
Gretzky will be there because of the moment and because
like Reggie Miller and
how big of an accomplishment it's going to be. I guarantee you, Wayne Gretzky will probably be there. He'll have something to say about it. Gretzky's like the finest, most fine ambassador of sports ever seen. He will say the right things. He'll do the right things, even if like it pains him a little bit. But I think he's gracious enough. He's got so many other records and accolades.
Yeah.
If he loses this one, I mean, he's still the greatest of all time, and nobody's ever going to argue that.
Right State Chris says, I think Jameis might be an HR nightmare. That could very well
I'm not going to argue that.
He also says Phillip Rivers would be awesome on a pregame show. In fact, you could have him and just his football team of kids.
11 kids.
I was going to say, I mean, doesn't he have his hands full already?
Filling kids.
He may want a few hours out of the house on some Sunday mornings.
No doubt about that. I think Phillip Rivers, especially if he can throw in some of the, cussing without cussing, the Southern slang, if you will, I think that would be, that would be a good role. I mean, Peyton and Eli, what they've done for the Manning cast on Monday Night Football. I was listening to a podcast I did 3 or 4 years ago when the Manning cast was just coming out and we were talking about it. And it's still one of those things that sometimes I'm not mad at myself, but I'm like, I wish I would have watched the Manning cast. Like for big games that I know I want to be tuned into, Manning cast isn't what I want to watch because they take my focus away from the game. For the blowouts, there's nothing better than the Manning cast. 3 great guests, all that great stuff.
I agree 100%. Like I do find myself like more focused on the Manning cast if I watch the Manning standing cast.
I want less quarterbacks. Show me like some defensive players, a running back, somebody else other than the quarterback. You have too many of them. You got Troy Aikman, Tony Romo. I mean,
keep going.
Terry
the list is
Bradshaw.
long.
You know what I'm saying? Back off the quarterbacks and bring us somebody.
Greg Olson, tight end.
Okay.
JJ Watt, which we're talking. Are we talking Booth or are we talking?
Just in general, just when you have all these broadcasts, you have a ton of quarterbacks, man. Back off the quarterbacks.
I mean, I think part of it is just
notoriety.
Part of it's notoriety, but I think from a traditional standpoint, like the quarterback was always viewed as one of the smarter players on the team because of the playbook and everything else. Like, so it probably just helped. They were, I want to say, more articulate because you have to communicate with the media. You have to communicate with your team a little bit better.
Your pregame meetings and stuff. How you fit in with the team that you're talking on.
More comfortable.
You got Andrew Wetworth. You got Kelsey now. So you got some O-line guys. O-line guys got to be the smartest guys on the field pretty much too. A lot of times you'll talk to a lot of people that play and they say the O-line guys have to be very, very smart.
No, I'm not arguing that. I think part of it is maybe just like the quarterbacks being the face of the team was kind of a natural transition.
Yeah, but I would also say that the quarterbacks, I would say, need a little bit of a higher football IQ than what an offensive lineman does.
No. Look at the quarterbacks with the Wonderlic scores,
Who is the one directing the center and the left guard and the left side? Who is the guy that's telling them what
they're
is to do?
They're calling plays and they're getting them called into a headset. It's not like they're standing out there.
Who makes the audible? Does the center just say to the quarterback, I think we should run it here?
I guarantee you, talk to people that play and they'll tell you the offensive linemen are usually the smartest guys on the field.
I've heard that they are very intelligent.
I'm not disputing that they're intelligent. I'm just saying that I would imagine. Again, are we talking book smarts or are we talking football smarts?
The left tackle doesn't have to know what route every wide receiver is running. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't. Like they have to know what their five guys are doing, what the quarterback's supposed to do. They don't necessarily have to know what the other five guys have to do. The quarterback has to know what all.
No, like I said,
he's got to know what all 10 other people are doing.
I didn't play, but from what I've heard, like a lot of people talking about it, O-line guys, smartest dudes on the field most of the time.
I didn't play past the high school level. I think that's quite obvious if you've ever seen me in person, unless I was a punter or something. But if you ever see me punt or kick a ball, man, I feel like I break my foot every time I do that. With that being said. And again, I played at a smaller school, so this, can't be used for averages. I would say, and if you played football with me, I'm sorry for saying this, I don't think that our offensive linemen were smarter than our quarterback. But, that's...
You're also talking high school. I'm talking pros.
100%. Again, and I was just throwing out the average. You said you didn't play. I'm just going off of my small basis there. I'm sure that someone out there listening right now has played offensive line, or maybe you played quarterback, or maybe you played a position. Maybe you played at the collegiate level, maybe the professional level. Tell us, who is the smartest player on the field? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida is taking it to the hole. Your home for the most live college basketball in the Gulf Coast. The ACC, SEC, and the biggest games in the country. Plus the official station of March Madness.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
Hear every slam dunk in ultra-high fidelity right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Tuesday. Partly sunny the rest of the day with a strong breeze out of the south-southeast at 21 miles per hour, gusting up to 31 miles per hour and temps near 72. Tonight we will have possible thunderstorms and clouds and be quite warm at 64. Mostly sunny tomorrow at a high 69. Mostly sunshine Thursday with a temp of 62. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Discover the new Kia. We invite you to stop by Bill Bird Kia and test drive the new 2025 Kia. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. The 2025 Kia SUV family has movement that inspires. Drive away today in a new 2025 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. Fuel the thrill and command the road in the luxury of a 2025 Kia K5 sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Performance, power, and design built for you. Spark inspiration in the all-electric 2025 EV9. It's a modern masterpiece, fast charging, rugged, and roomy. Bill Bird Kia is the original home for the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust. Your local community dealer is Bill Bird Kia.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Call in with your questions, hot takes, and rants at 850-215-6290.
I'm sure that most of you have used a dial telephone before.
The Sports Talk Monster.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back in the doghouse. We are the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick and our college football prognosticator, Tyler Bishop. Will be diving more into college football. Kind of a lot going on in college football, not necessarily with players and whatnot, but with FSU Clemson versus the ACC. You got new rules to look at, and I've got a couple of other questions sprinkled in. We got to get your brother Tho back on here as we get closer to the NFL draft. We had the NFL Combine, so anything stand out to you there? We'll ask you at 5 o'clock, give you a little bit more time to think about that. Our trivia question for this afternoon, and now I got to try to remember the answer. Although he never played for a New York team, this man hit 86 career home runs in New York. What's his name? Although he never played for a New York team, this man hit 86 career home runs in the state of New York, which would obviously be against the Yankees and the Mets. And I'm going to have to... 850-215-6290.
Hopefully you know the answer.
If I hear... I know who it is. I know who it is now. I know who it is. Yeah, that's it's funny how the brain works, because lately I haven't been writing the answers down on the paper because I'm like, I'll remember this is a big name, and then it also kind of makes it fun for us here in the studio to give you guys an opportunity. I don't think you have any idea who it could be. Caveman Rick?
I got a couple I'm thinking about.
Give me 2 guesses. I won't say yes or no to him. 850-215-6290. He never played for a New York team, but this man hit 86 career home runs in New York.
One, because of his initials, B squared, maybe. And
Barry Bonds?
Possibly.
Okay.
And then if not, we got a caller here. So let me grab this.
All right, you go ahead and do that. That is not in the correct era at all, though. I will tell you no for some of the guys that I'm like, let's try to get them sniffing in the closer direction. Christopher Multicante says Cam Ward, who did not throw at the Combine. Not really a huge ordeal there. We're not really seeing... Quinn Ewers was a guy who kind of moved his stock up a little bit by hearing social media, right? Did Will Howard go down? Find out more when we talk with our college football prognosticator, Tyler Bishop, at 5 p.m. We did have a couple of texts come in pertaining to who is the smartest football player on the field. Chef Ross says the punter. He gets out of the majority of cardio and never gets hit. And then Lynn Haven Robb essentially said the same thing, but for the kicker. J. Michael Davis is on the line with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on, my friend?
How's it going?
Doing well over this way. Who is the answer to a guy who never played for a New York team, but he hit 86 career home runs in New York?
Is it Chipper Jones?
Oh, it is not Chipper Jones. Again, wrong era. I would encourage you guys to backtrack just a little bit. But, Jay Michael, thank you so much for the call, my friend.
All right, thank you.
850-215-6290. You got to go back, as Chris Berman used to say. Right State Chris says, were there 3 New York teams back then? I would have to see when this fella played and if there were 3 New York teams, because I guess you would have the Brooklyn Dodgers. Would you have the Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers? Man, where's Tim Kirkjian when you need him? 850-215-6290. Right State Chris says currently 8 NFL head coaches were quarterbacks and 8 were defensive backs. What's going on with the other 16? I guess you got Aaron Glenn, defensive.
Yeah.
Well, he's a DB, so he's a part of the 16 that we already have there. Dan Campbell, tight end.
Yeah. Vrabel was a linebacker.
There you go. Jackson State Jeff, my guy. It's been a long time, no talk. How are you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing fine. Y'all tell me something good and stick to it.
All right, man. Well, can you tell me the answer to this trivia question? Or is that what you're calling in for, or you got something else for us?
Oh, of course, I always got something else for you guys. But I went into trivia because I think the guy helped me out because I was actually going to say Chipper Jones was my first guess, so I'm going to go with my second guess, Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron. I love that answer, and I would say that this particular guy is also earlier than Hank Aaron, but I would, again, have to Google that, and I could do that real quick. But go ahead and tell us what else you got for us this afternoon. I wish it was Hammer and Hank, and I can understand people saying, Chipper Jones, because he was the Met killer there when it was Shea Stadium at the time. But what else do you got for us?
Oh, man, just living the dream. As a Jackson State fan, we've been on a real stretch run here for last year. Of course, our band played in the Super Bowl halftime last year with Usher. Followed that up with another SWAC championship. Followed that up with something that Coach Dion couldn't do for us. We're actually national champs.
That was a good game, too, Jackson State, Jeff. I watched a good amount of that Holiday Bowl between Jackson State and South Carolina State, right?
Exactly. And what was ironic about that, this year I was actually celebrating my 52nd year of Jackson State football. And I actually was fortunate enough to my mom, who actually took me to my first game when I was 6 years old. So that was a grand time.
Wow, that is something else, man. What are you looking forward to we got a ways to go until Jackson State. How's their basketball team looking this year?
Surprisingly, we're in second place. Of course, our Coach Mo Williams, who played in the NBA, hometown Jackson guy. So we're currently in second place. Looking a lot better. Girls also are like in second, third place. So everything is looking good on 1400 J.R. Lynn Street.
Hey, there you go, man. You're going to be getting to another Colorado game this year?
I am. I'm going to let my daughter's going to pick one out. I went out for the night game last year, so the goal is to go to a daytime game this year.
Oh, there you go, man. Where do you think Shedeur goes in the NFL draft?
Man, that's a good question because, his dad said he was going to do the same thing the Elway's dad and the Manning's dad did. He just wasn't going to be out public. So I would think right now they're making calls to certain people. And ironically, they're talking about Aaron Rodgers to the Giants. So I don't think he should do it in New York, although I think that would be the best fit for him.
There you go. Well, Jackson State Jeff, again, great to hear your voice, my friend. And we need to get you back here in the studio with us once we get a little closer there to college football season.
Exactly. I got to get you guys some national championship gear.
Hey, there we go, my friend. Hey, take care, man. As always, great to hear from you.
As always, guys. Keep it up.
All right. Thank you. So Hank Aaron and the particular player that we're looking for, which is he never played for a New York team, but he hit 86 career home runs in New York. Him and Hank Aaron never played in Major League Baseball at the same time. They were playing baseball at the same time. The guy we're looking for retired earlier than what Hank Aaron did. But when Hank Aaron was playing professional baseball, it was in the Negro Leagues. And so they weren't in Major League Baseball at the same time, even though now the way that we look at the statistics, they're all kind of merged together, which I think is absolutely great for baseball, even though there's so many other, statistics out there when it comes to the Negro Leagues that just aren't identifiable. So, the numbers could be even greater for some of these players. But yes, we're looking for a guy who hit 86 career home runs in New York. 850-215-6290. And he retired in, I'll give a decade, the 60s. He retired in the 60s. So you got to go back. And you're going to be winning a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, a $25 gift certificate to not the, but that boot store, and a $10 gift card to Golf Plus. Tyler, how has your golf game been looking as of late? Have you been playing lately? Because for me, when the summer settles in, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I also haven't played golf in I think in July it'll be a year.
Yeah. No, so I actually played my first round in a few months last Sunday. And, man, I tell you what, I was kind of surprised at the pricing of a lot of the courses nearby, especially some of the more discount, or one that used to be a little bit more discount that we used to go to. So we actually drove out a little bit up to Bonifay and played around out there, had a good time, and wasn't the best, but also hadn't really played in like 6 months probably. So.
Do you get frustrated when you're not hitting good shots? Is there like a cap for you?
I used to get a lot more frustrated.
Yeah.
Than I do now. Now it's not as big of a deal, but. The problem is like because I've had some really good days.
Yeah,
right? And it's frustrating to have like a really good day
over and over again.
And
then
like you go out and have a really bad day, and it's like, man, like what am I? Because physically it feels like I'm swinging the same way,
right?
But then like I'll have like a 250-yard shot, and then I'll have like an 8-yard shot. It's like I feel like I did the exact same thing. I don't understand that's where golf gets really frustrating at times. But you get out there with a couple buddies playing and try to remember why you're out there is to have fun.
Yeah, I'm just for me, it's all about fun. Now when I was younger, and I say younger like I was a young kid, I played golf, but more like par 3 courses and stuff. But my brother, when we would play as we kind of gotten older, and he spent like 2 whole summers where every freaking day he would play at least one round in the summer, and he got really daggone good. And so when we would play together, he would start getting mad when he wasn't hitting good shots. I'm like, bro, it's not enjoyable for me to play golf with you. And that kind of also helped me, like, all right, I'm just here for fun. I'm here, just to enjoy nature and our fellowship, friendship, all that good stuff. But I will say, if I hit like 7 shots in a row and none of them are even looking like they're going to go up, I'm like, all right, today's not the day, but I'll fight through it, and eventually.
I've got no problem. I'll pick a ball up and just be like, all right, mark me down.
Done with it,
I'm done with this hole. I'll
double par?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, well, that's typically what we
or double bogey, I meant to say.
But, we'll play double pars, kind of like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, like, I'll pick it up.
Like if it's a par 4.
Just not my hole. Just not my hole. Like, I'm not going to make myself even more frustrated by just, like chasing bad money at that point and just give it up.
We got Coach Mike on the line with us. Coach Mike, we've got to get to a break, but we'll get to you first here. Although he never played for a New York team, this man hit 86 career home runs in New York. Do you know the answer?
I don't know if I know, but I didn't cheat either. So I'm thinking after World War II, in the early 60s, I don't know if this is right, but I'm going to guess Ty Cobb.
Oh, great guess. I would say that they're in the same, I would say that they're in the same, kind of pool of players or same era of players, but that is not the answer that I'm looking for. Coach Mike, I wish that we had a little bit more time to discuss things with you, but I will say go Michigan for you.
Hey, go Blue.
All right, you guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, and we still got more time for you to win a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, $25 gift card to not the, but that boot store, and a Golf Plus certificate worth $10. We'll be right back here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida presents the madness of college basketball. 68 teams, 32 conference champions, but there can only be one. ESPN Northwest Florida is your exclusive radio home for the NCAA College Basketball Tournament.
Good evening, this is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Tuesday's weather forecast. Possible thunderstorms and mostly clouds tonight with a low near 63 and a wind 25 to 30 miles per hour. Sunshine tomorrow morning, a strong breeze and a temperature of 68. About the same in the afternoon and evening, around 69 with sunshine and a wind out of the west at 22 miles per hour, gusting up to 30 miles per hour. Sunny Thursday and quite warm around 63. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hewitt Tire and Auto. Call 850-769-7323. Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing. Visit them online at HewittTire.com. On Airport Road in Panama City. 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Need a tow? Call Billy at Hometown Towing, 850-265-1562.
Are you looking to invest in rare coins and precious metals? Well, look no further. Coin and Bullion Reserves is Bay County's trusted source for rare coins and precious metals. Located in the heart of Panama City, our showroom is stocked with a vast selection of gold and silver bullion, rare coins, and currency. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned collector, we have what you're looking for. Our sales staff has over 50 years of experience to help guide you through your purchase. Come and visit Coin and Bullion Reserves today and build your collection with confidence.
Auburn basketball is chasing another SEC championship.
Jones a screen, stopping top three straight away. It's Miles Kelly, right wing, outside the arc, working on Warren, three. Boom! Absolute dagger.
The Tigers clash with Texas A&M in College Station. Coverage at 7:30. Tip off at 8 p.m. tonight on your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Haven. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's here. The 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app version 2.0. Now featuring ultra high fidelity. You'll feel like you're in the game. Plus more opportunities to win weekly prizes from local businesses when you click it to win it. Download the 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app today at Google Play or the Apple Store.
That hasn't hit that. We're back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes, along with college football prognosticator Tyler Bishop, which is no surprise why he doesn't know the answer to our trivia question, right? We're not prognosticating baseball over here, prognosticating college football. Also, Caveman Rick with us. Caveman, I just asked Tyler this question. I haven't been saying who's hit the most home runs in the state of New York, have I?
No, I believe you just said 86.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it's also going to make this. It's a very. I just Googled it, and it's a hard question to get a Google answer for, which makes it that much more fun. We've gotten a lot of text-ins about it as well, so I'll read some of those off to kind of eliminate some of the other
answers. Has anybody
answers.
texted it incorrectly?
Not correctly.
Okay.
No. Although he never played for a New York team, this man hit 86 career home runs in New York. Name him. We've got Ty Cobb. That was from Coach Mike. We got from Jackson State Jeff. He said Hank Aaron. We've got Chipper Jones. I think those are the only ones that we got. Roberto Clemente. Someone said Mo Williams was an Alabama player, but I'm thinking. He's talking about basketball.
He was talking about Jackson State Jeff saying Mo Williams is the coach of Jackson State basketball.
Oh, gotcha. We got Willie Mays, incorrect. Ken Griffey Jr. And then Lynn Haven Robb earlier said the O-line has to be the smartest. The blocking assignments are a tough thing to learn. He said it in a little different language there. But yeah, so none of those answers. And Ken Griffey, again, a wrong area. You got to go back. He retired in the 60s. This guy did. Well-known baseball player. And if we, go the whole afternoon without an answer, we will reveal it at 5:40. But again, I love when you guys call in and keep guessing. Most of the time, I come up with very easy trivia questions, and this one was just a little bit more difficult. So it's kind of fun getting all of the engagement. At 5 o'clock on Tuesdays, we dive into college football. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask Tyler, call in right now or text him in 850-215-6290. Let's start with Combine winners and losers for you.
Yeah, I know a lot of the Combine issue, from what I've read, the tight end position group as a whole. I know Gunnar Helm from the tight end from Texas got hurt during the drills, and I don't know if you saw the picture of his ankle swollen up.
And didn't tell anyone until after he was done.
But overall, the testing for a lot of the tight ends, the tight end class as a whole was kind of disappointing. I heard from different people like this is a bad year to need a tight end, basically. Some really good running back times as far as the running and the explosiveness drills.
Who's the man? He's got such a recognizable name, and I'm drawing a blank on it right now. The other running back, basically, you got Ashton Genty, and then who's the next running back behind him?
So there's a running back from North Carolina whose name I was not. Is that the guy you're talking about? I'm trying to think.
I don't think he's from.
He
North Carolina.
popped up, and I was kind of surprised that he was thought of as like a top half of the first round type of guy, and for him to be for me relatively under the radar. Like I said, it wasn't a guy I'm super familiar with, but I'm not sure. I mean,
well, obviously you got Quinshawn and you got
Travion Henderson.
Both of them
State.
guys. Man,
Scadaboo had a pretty good combine. He had some good explosiveness number, but it just some very good testing.
Mario and Hampton is the guy from North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the top 12, and this guy's not even on the top 12. So I'm tripping on where he was at. Tootin out of Virginia Tech.
Okay, yeah. So
Bracial Tootin.
But as far as there's all these people like, if they hit these measurables at this density, it's like density to explosive measurables were one of the things I was reading about. And there's a handful of guys that were hitting the All-Pro and Pro Bowl mark. So it seems to be a pretty good draft to need a running back, assuming those traits always transfer over, which is never a guarantee. Yeah. And the wide receivers had some pretty good days, some really good times there. There was a quote from Isaiah Bond that said he was going to break Xavier Worthy's record. Then he ran barely a 4.4, which don't get me wrong, 4.4 is blazing fast.
What do you think you would run these days?
Oh God,
I think when I was in high school, I think forever. I think I ran 4.8ish or whatever. And man, I tell you what, I was pretty fast, right? Yeah. And then even playing slow pitch softball, getting around them bases and stuff. I don't know what it would be now. Man, my ankles have been so weak lately. Oh.
Not to mention I feel in my quads for about 3 days.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But it's funny now because it's become so modern place. But man, a 4.440 is still blazing fast. And but it was just funny. He thought he was going to run low 4.2s, maybe even a 4.19, and then somebody said, "Hey, you got to have confidence, right? If you don't believe you're going to do it, you're definitely not going to do it." But no, so it's a very interesting class. I know there's the top 7 or 8 guys that people are really high on, and then there's that 20 to 60 range. I've heard that's kind of very similar. So if you're a team early in the second or late first round and early second round, there's not a ton of difference in those guys. So if you're a team at the top of the draft, is a great draft to double dip in. If you're the Titans, if you're the Colts, what I'm saying, you're going to get some of these guys that you may be able to get one of those top guys at the top of the draft, like the Titans. If they sit there at number 1 or even drop down 2 or 3 spots and then come back and get a guy at the top of the second round that may be some years, that may be as good as a guy drafted 10, 12 spots ahead of him.
Yeah, there you go. There's actually multiple players here. I'm sorry to we'll keep that conversation going. We got to get back to the phone line. There's another player that actually hit the same amount of home runs for 86, which is Ed Charles, and that is not the guy that we're looking for. So we're going to go over to Chef Ross, who's cooking up the answer here for our trivia question. We'll see if he's got it right. Chef Ross, what do you got for us? We've had a boatload of other answers come in. We finally did get the right answer, but I won't tell you what it is. Chef Ross, what do you got?
Ted Williams.
Great guess. We've had that guess as well, but that is not correct. This guy did have a year off. I think Ted Williams, did Ted Williams only have 1 year off for military service?
I can't remember, but I was guessing a Red Sox player since he played a ton of games at Yankee Stadium.
Let's, while we're in the process of eliminating things, and again, we don't give credit for text answers. The only way that you can win is by calling in, but the text answers are fun as well. This guy did not play for the Boston Red Sox, did not play for the Milwaukee or Atlanta Braves, so we'll just keep on keeping on with this trivia question this afternoon. Chef Ross, you doing all right, my friend?
Yeah.
All right, brother. Hey, well, have a great day. Thanks so much for your call.
Yep. All right, bye-bye.
850-215-6290. We're looking for a legend. Retired in the 60s. Did not play for the Red Sox nor the Braves. He hit 86 career home runs in the state of New York. 850-215-6290. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and we're talking college football with our prognosticator, Tyler Bishop. What else did we have on the combine, or did you kind of summarize everything that you had there?
No, I'm good. No, we're good.
What about Quinn Ewers? I didn't come up with specific questions for the combine, just kind of winners and losers. But we'll go back to the phone line. Mike, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, what about Jackie Robinson?
Jackie Robinson, a great guess, but not the answer that we're looking for. Thanks so much for the call, my friend. Hey, I don't know if I recognize your voice. Have you called in before?
No, it's first time.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you.
I listen to you guys all the time. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for listening along with us. Who is your baseball team?
Baseball team, I believe it's the Braves.
All right, man. Hey, great stuff. Well, hopefully we have a great season this year.
Yeah, and Mo Williams, I think he did play for Alabama.
I'm not disputing that by any means. I was when I was reading those text off, we were talking about the trivia questions. So I was like, whoa, I don't. And when I hear Mo Williams, I think of basketball, So, but thanks so much for texting along with us, calling along with us, and we appreciate your calls, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. 850-215-6290. Quinn Ewers had a really good NFL combine from what social media said, what the NFL Network, what Pat McAfee and them said. Will Howard, though, did not. Do you think that plays a huge role, or do you think that the teams are like, all right, we see what you got at the combine, but there's the reason why you have the pro days after the combine?
I mean, we've seen it for years, the top guys, like even going back to Matthew Stafford, saying, so we're talking decade plus of the top guys not throwing at the combine for that reason, right? You're throwing to guys you've never thrown to before. The timing's off. Like the pro days have always kind of been the key. And honestly, if you're an NFL team basing your drafting of a quarterback off the combine, it's bad business. I mean, we kind of saw with the Colts and drafting Anthony Richardson, and here we are. They're looking at bringing in Danny Dimes or something like that to be his backup. He's barely played half his game since he's been there. But yeah, if you're going to let one throwing session at the combine determine, Quinn Ewers is an interesting guy. I don't know if I love him as a college. He's had some of the worst despite having some great wide receivers, he's had a terrible downfield passing percentage the last two seasons.
And his career dwindled.
Yeah.
And it brings up another point, which is not something that we're going to talk about today, but another one of those things. Is Arch the Manning that people think that he is? We'll talk about that later. We'll go back to the phone line. Paul, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Who do you have for the answer of the trivia question? We're looking for a guy who hit 86 home runs in the state of New York.
I'm going to say Roberto Clemente.
Oh, great guess as well, but he did not play. This guy did not play for the Giants. We'll eliminate Pirates. We'll eliminate another team. He didn't play for the Giants, so we'll eliminate that team as well. Who was our previous caller? What did Mike say?
He said Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson. Yeah. So Jackie Robinson. So he didn't play for the Brooklyn or the LA Dodgers that I'm aware of. Let me check his stat sheet one more time. No, this guy also, another hint for you guys. So he took off 1 year from military service. Then he played his entire career for the same team. Thank you so much for the call, Paul. Right. Call Paul. Hey, have a great afternoon, my friend. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're keeping it rolling right here, playing a little bit of trivia and some prognostication of college football at the same time, just bouncing back and forth here. 850-215-6290. Looking for a guy who had 86 career home runs in New York, but he never played for a New York team. Ohio, Brad, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on, my friend?
Is it Stan the Man Musial?
Ding, ding, ding. We have ourselves a winner. That was the name we were looking for all along. Played for the St. Louis Cardinals from the age of 20 years old back in 1941 all the way until 1963, where he retired at the age of 42. Brad, great stuff there. You just won yourself a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. You got a gift card to that boot store and a Golf Plus gift certificate. Now, I got a question for you. What do the Browns do with their number 3 overall pick?
Oh, man, that's so crazy. Probably waste it. That's what I put my money on.
I mean, I respect the honesty. That's a great answer.
Hey, that's how I feel as a Titans fan. I think that even if they drop down to 3, let's say we trade with the Browns, drop down to 3, and then take injured Abdul Carter, which I'm not saying, I don't understand taking a guy who's not going to be ready for 8 more weeks with that 3rd pick. I think that, I don't know. I don't know. I love edge rushers. That's a great deal, but we know edge rusher isn't even the weakest position, not even close on the whole entire team, definitely not even on the defense. So I don't get that necessarily, but Godspeed to you and your Browns, brother. I think we're both going to be going through some tough seasons again next year.
It's weird. I think what I'm feeling, and this is just a vibe, But I think if Cam Ward is available at 2, they go Cam Ward. I don't think they're super. I think they want a quarterback that's a little bit more mobile. Being in the AFC North, you got Lamar Jackson. You just need a guy that can extend the play. I just don't know if Shedeur. Shedeur is like a great. I could see Shedeur being good in like Las Vegas or somewhere like in a dome maybe, but I just think you need a guy in Cleveland that can extend the play a little bit with the division, and who knows what happens with the whole Myles Garrett thing. So
yeah,
I don't know if Cam Ward's available too. I'm thinking Cam Ward. If not, I'm thinking it could be the kid that goes. He plays offense and defense. What's his name again?
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I think it could be Travis Hunter. I mean that guy's probably you can't miss with Travis Hunter, to be honest with you. So I don't know, but they're a wreck as usual. So
hey, I'm dwelling in the cellar with you, my friend. But hey, you got the Cavs to lean on right now.
Oh, right. I mean, shoot, man, I've been putting some money on the Cavs this year.
Okay.
And it's like printing money.
Isn't that nice when you're betting on your favorite team and winning money? Because in the NFL this year, I was having to make money off my NFL team based on them losing.
Yeah, I've been betting the spread on them, and I've been teasing the spread up a few points. So if they're minus 9.5, I've been teasing it up to like minus 12.5 and winning a lot.
So tonight they're against the Bulls, and they're at minus 12.5. So which way you go there?
Well,
tease it up to 20.
I got a really juicy parlay going on right now. I don't know if you want me to tell you about it.
Yeah, we do. We do want you to tell us about it. We still have 40 minutes on the show. That's a good point. Do you want to jinx yourself and then blame us for it later so you don't have to take the blame?
I'm fine with it. I always lose them. I don't win parlays. But here's how I did it. So the Hard Rock app today was giving you a bonus bet on ping pong, okay?
Oh, my guy.
So you threw $20 down on a ping pong match. If you lost,
you win it back.
$20 back.
Yeah.
So I bet on an underdog $20 today, and I won, so that 20 turned into 51. So I took that 31 profit, and I put a parlay down for $31. I got Raptors plus 7. Magic have been playing like dog crap lately. I got Rockets plus 3.5 versus your Pacers.
Ooh, where's that game at? That's in Indiana, ain't it?
Yeah, but anytime I see a good team getting points, I'm going to take it.
I'm right there with you, man.
They're a good team. Warriors getting 5.5 in New York.
Oh, and New York's been struggling, haven't they?
Yeah, and then you got Cavs minus 12.5, and so $31 pays out $421.
Let's go, Ohio. Brad, we're rooting for you this evening.
Golden State got bet down. Now they're only at plus 2.5.
Hey, so there you go, man. You're making the smart moves. Now, I got to ask you this. When you're betting on table tennis, do you bet on do you just pick a guy to win, or do you go in, like I would get into betting on each singular game and betting on, their total points? I got a little too deep into it.
Dude, the thing that makes ping pong so addicting is it starts and it's over.
It's over. You know what's going on. Exactly. It's addicting. I'm telling you, one night, I think it was like July 3rd of last year, I spent almost like 13, 14 hours, maybe like closer to 20, just straight on my phone. Just like, I remember telling her, like, bro, like, I'm sitting there just pounding buttons back and forth.
Right.
I would go from like $20 to like 120, then back down to 20, and then up to 80. And I'd be like, all right, I'm done for the night.
Oh, dude. So what I do is I find like a slight underdog. So I look for matchups that are close. Like I'm not talking like a minus 750,
right?
Like a plus 500. Like I'm talking, close matchup. But I look for an underdog that's just been on a winning streak. So I kind of look up their There's a website where you can look up their last 10 matches and what they've won and lost. So I just go off of that, and honestly, I go off of their names. So like
that's once I started getting familiar with the name, I'm like, I don't remember like how good, but I noticed that I recognize that name. That's good enough for me.
Right, and the guy I won with today, I don't know anything about him, but I know he's won me a couple games. So I was like, I'm gonna ride with you again, dude.
And
so my parlay I threw out tonight, it's all house money. So if I, whenever I see those little bonus bet things on Hard Rock, I try to get some free cash and make a risky bet,
There you go, man. Just keeping the conversation going for us degenerates here on the Afternoon Underdogs. Ohio Brad, thank you so much for the call, my friend, and hope that parlay hits for you tonight.
Hey, I can't wait to taste that spicy Buffalo Rock hit my tongue.
Oh, there you go, man. It won't be too long. Just let us know whenever. Well, you don't got to let us know. Just come between, like 10 or like 11 to 5 o'clock, and we'll be able to help you out, all right?
All right. Do I have to wear any sort of attire, like a suit or anything?
Tuxedos only. Otherwise, we'll bring it out to you.
Okay, cool.
All right. Hey, later, Ohio Brad.
All right, see ya.
All right, 850-215-6290. We don't have any more trivia, but if you want to ask Tyler Bishop a question or just talk some crap with the Afternoon Underdogs, be our guest. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
Your home for college basketball. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Auburn Tigers are SEC champions. The number 1 ranked Tigers are at College Station today to play the number 22 ranked Texas A&M Aggies. Coverage coming up at 7:30. Tip off at 8 on your home for the Auburn Tigers and March Madness.
And Talent on the 3.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Tuesday's weather forecast. Possible thunderstorms and mostly clouds tonight with a low near 63 and a wind 25 to 30 miles per hour. Sunshine tomorrow morning, a strong breeze and a temperature of 68. About the same in the afternoon and evening, around 69 with sunshine and a wind out of the west at 22 miles per hour, gusting up to 30 miles per hour. Sunny Thursday and quite warm around 63. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
How would you like to receive money for your car that you don't need anymore? When you call the Sell Car US hotline right now, we'll come to your location. Within a matter of days, we'll offer you a fair price for your vehicle and we'll remove it for free. How great is that? You don't need to go anywhere. No people stopping by your house to look at your car, wasting your time on test drives. We come, we offer you a price, and pay you immediately. Call the Sell Car US hotline right now to arrange to have one of our representatives come right to your door and tell you how much your car is worth. Cars, trucks, vans, running or not, we'll make you a deal. Call this number right now.
800-609-2771. 800-609-2771. 800-609-2771. That's 800-609-2771.
They're number 1 in the men's room.
I hope this place comes with toilet paper.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Oh, geez, this is going to be a photo finish.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back, and you're in the doghouse riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick, and our college football prognosticator joining us on Tuesdays, Tyler Bishop. And very appreciative of you coming in week and week out, man. And even during the off season, man, we're sitting here talking about college football on a regular basis throughout the show, and that's something I try to stay on top of. Outside, I gotta be honest, like I don't do as well with the NBA just because I'm not watching it night in and night out the way that I probably should be. It's just not it's not the most popular topic like for radio. We don't get as much calls in about the NBA as what we do college football, NFL, Major League Baseball, even to some degree the NHL. And shoot, even when we're talking video games, right? State Chris, at least, I mean, he'll call in and be like, hey, League of Legends or like something Guardians, they've got this, they've got a tournament, playing on ESPN Plus or whatever. And
Speaking of Chris, too, Wright State, man, made a couple big plays this past week. They were on top 10 plays on ESPN,
and got swept by Ole Miss at the same time. But yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. Well, no, the reason why I say that is Wright State Chris, I think that was on like one of his worst of the weekend, maybe, or he commented it somewhere. But we had Steve Barnes on yesterday, and he was talking about them sweeping Wright State, and I was like, yeah, I knew that as soon as that one happened. College baseball, not in full swing by any stretch of the imagination, but we've had some big upsets. What did I see earlier? I saw a Clemson shortstop make this acrobatical. Well, not necessarily acrobatical, but the ball went straight up the middle, hit the mound, hit second base, and the shortstop made a great grab there. There was also a fight, I believe, last night between, not a fight, it was after the handshake. They got into a little scuffle, Hawaii and I believe Northeastern University. So, yeah, out of Boston. So that was a little interesting there. You know, Hawaii trying to fight for their right to host a regional this year. But we're going to get right back into college football. I got some other topics for you. Do you have anything on the FSU Clemson? Basically now, what was determined, at least to my... not glancing, it was more than a glance, but just kind of skimming over the article. Now they have a buyout number for him, and each year up until 2030 is going to get I think it's $165 million or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something to that effect.
The biggest takeaways you're a Florida State, Clemson, ACC fan in general is they're getting Clemson and Florida State will get $15 million more a year. Basically based on the TV numbers that they draw. So they do get a little bit more money, which does get them a little bit closer to some of the SEC and Big Ten schools with their new TV deals. I think the biggest thing is 2030, the buyout for the grant of rights deal drops to about $75 million.
Yeah, so you think that's our next realignment basis?
That's when it becomes realistic.
Mm-hmm.
I think anything before that, unless something crazy happens, which is entirely possible with college sports, the way it's gone the last few years.
Right.
But I think 2030 kind of gives you a realistic window to shoot for if you're Clemson or Florida State. You're probably in the ACC until then, so don't get your hopes up. And honestly, if you're Clemson or Florida State, like
why would you want to?
It's not a bad spot to be if you're getting this extra money now. Now you have an easier path to the playoff, and you're getting relatively similar money. So just kind of roll with it.
I get their argument, and again, does the SEC divvy up by?
It's just flat.
It's flat across the board, right? Okay, so does Vanderbilt, does to a large extent Mississippi State? You know, you look at the bottom barrel of the SEC, or bottom four of the SEC. Do they deserve as much as the top? I mean, no, but that's how it's built out.
Yeah.
Now, the ACC put themselves in a bad predicament with the deal that they got into.
Yeah, that was a terrible deal.
Right, and I get that aspect of it. On the flip side of it is like you're not bigger than your conference, and FSU Clemson probably has a better argument than most do, right? I get that. I don't dispute that.
It will be interesting going forward if we see so now the precedent by a conference has been set where hey, the more popular team gets more money.
Yeah.
When the SEC or the Big Ten or whoever else, when they start renegotiating their contract, however long out that is,
right?
Do we see that happen again?
Oh, that's a great point.
Now that the ball's kind of started rolling.
I mean, because and if you're FSU and Clemson and you see kind of the writing on the wall, right? Like ACC or SEC adds Texas and Oklahoma. Big Ten adds Oregon. They added Washington.
USC, UCLA.
Yeah, USC and UCLA. Do you see the writing on the wall when the ACC, their teams, which SMU was not a shabby move at all, Stanford, Cal, and one other team in there that they added. I believe maybe they're at a odd number rather than an even number. However, do you see the writing on the wall and say, I think it's time for us to get out of the ACC when it comes down to 75, 65 million?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're kind of seeing it. We've talked about it on the show before.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of become a Big Two. And, there's the Power 2, and then there's the Big 12 and the ACC that are kind of in an in-between zone. Right now, they're still getting the benefits of being a Power 4 conference, so in the short term. But when the new playoff structure comes out, if you're talking the Big 10 and the SEC getting 4 guaranteed berths, which has been floated around a little bit, that's 8 of the 16 spots. That's 8 of the... And that's just guaranteed. That's not to say there can't be a 5th or even 6th team. So if you're talking over half or more of the spots are going to go to those two conferences... You know that those are going to be the stable conferences long term. Like the ACC could die in 5 years for all we know, and then do you want to be left without a home? No.
Which I would rather see 2030 rather than see FSU and Clemson, join the SEC or the Big Ten, which wouldn't be terrible. But let's all right, since we're going to have 14 teams in the playoff, and this is not going to happen, this is wishful thinking at best, let's geographicate.
Yeah.
All right, let's get these conferences back into a geographical location that makes sense, that doesn't have these teams spending all kind of money in the sport of swimming and the sport of baseball, and like where it's just not feasible to be traveling across the country. Like for the SEC, it's not as bad as what it is for the Big Ten, as what it is for the ACC, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I would like to see us get back to that. Try to get the conferences to I think 4 would be, Power 4 rather than Power 5. 4 would be the right number. Divvy them up, geographically speaking, and then go from there. That's not going to happen, though. It's almost too logical.
No, it's 100%. I mean, it'd be way too logical to go to 10, 12-team conferences. That gives you your 120 teams.
Right.
Your top 2 from each conference automatically make the playoff.
Ooh.
And the playoff goes from there. 24-team playoff, but no conference championship games necessarily. Like, just do it. I mean, you have your 12, just go from there.
So 12 conferences, but and at that point, now you're just down to
10 conferences.
10 conferences,
so 20
12 teams.
Or you go to 12 10-team conferences. You do a round robin in your conference. That's 9 games. 3 out of conference. The top 2 teams from each conference represent in the...
That's a little tough, though, because right now where we stand is we have those 131 FBS teams, right? But we only have 4 premier conferences, right? And they've got 18, 16, 19, and Big 12's got, 14 or so?
Yeah, something
so
like
we're
that.
looking at, 40, like 60 teams. And then the other ones are all fighting for, all 70 teams are fighting for 1 spot. And then these guys are fighting for... at this point in time, 11 spots.
Then maybe the G5 quote unquote, their conference champion goes, and the top 2 from everybody else, or top 3 from. I think there's a lot of ways we could simplify it and make it make a lot more sense, but we're not going to do that. So.
No, we're not going to do that. And again, another thing that a lot of people don't want to hear, and they say, "Oh, it sounds elitist." And when I ask people, like, if you're a Troy fan, and I say, "Well, would you rather compete for the national championship, the D1 national championship, or for D1A?" Kind of how it used to be before they just changed it to Division 2. Have a G5 championship and then a regular national championship. Now, you still get the allocation of 1 G5 team to compete for that national championship, but everyone else, y'all are worried about, you're truly playing for your G5 championship. They don't want that. That's elitist,
that's fine,
if you will. I just think that it would be a little bit better for... I don't know. It's hard to say that would be better for the sport, because we have, is Division 3 college football and their playoffs, which is a great system, by the way, does that make the sport better?
Nobody really watches.
Do we know if a 12-team college football playoff makes the sport better? Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about a sport, I know a lot of the times we look to the professional leagues, which now we can look at college football and essentially call it a professional league. But when they say that, what happened with the NHL? With the 4 Nations face-off, that was so good for the sport of hockey. Well, why? Because it trickles all the way down to youth hockey, and that's when you know if something's really affecting the sport.
Yeah, impactful.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Caveman Rick, any thoughts on any of that? Well, let's move on to something I would like to ask you about, and we'll get Tyler's thoughts on this as well. We've got 2 differing opinions here. I'll obviously give my thoughts as well. Travis Hunters came out and said that it would be harder for him to play offense and defense in the NFL than what it is that Shohei Ohtani is doing at the Major League Baseball level of pitching and hitting. Let's start with Caveman Rick. Your thoughts. What's harder?
I think what Shohei's doing, both pitching and hitting, they say, what's the hardest thing to do in sports? I don't maybe necessarily agree with that, but hitting, a fastball or a baseball thrown by like a major league pitcher. So, I mean, he's crushing the ball that way. He can pitch 2 lights out. So, I mean, that's pretty spectacular for being a great 2-way player like that. That's like on par with being a starting quarterback and then being like a standout wide receiver or,
that would be that's impossible, though. That's impossible. That would be like saying you're pitching to yourself and still hitting the ball.
I mean, like people would think doing, being a starting pitcher and crushing and mashing the ball the way he does would be damn near impossible, and he's doing it. So, I mean, why isn't it on par with something like that? So I think what Travis Hunter would be doing would be, not as strenuous or as of a big deal. I mean, still playing two ways, but I mean, back in football too, back in the day, a lot of the guys did play two ways, and that was the norm and the standard for quite a while.
Iron Man, yeah, that's you had to be an Iron Man to play football at our high school because we had like 23 kids on the team.
I think it's a little different because Shohei has proven it at the biggest level, right? Like,
yeah.
He's been in. I'm assuming
he's done it.
He's done
Travis
it at MLB,
is assuming
right?
you're right,
and we're assuming that Travis is going to be able to play an elite level on both ways,
which we haven't really seen anyone in the Super Bowl. Well,
Deion.
Let's say our lifetime. Yeah, but Deion, how often was he playing wide receiver though?
I mean, he wasn't. I mean, he was more like playing DB, and then he was like a
come in, right. And we see offensive line or defensive linemen at times do those sorts of things.
So I will say, like, what Hunter's doing is probably harder because you're talking about playing 120, 130 snaps in a game as opposed to being in the batter's box 4 or 5 times, pitching.
If y'all are scoring a lot, yeah,
and then pitching once every 3 games.
And then depends on if you're a relief pitcher or a starting pitcher.
But
you're right there in the right
ballpark. So once every 3 games and probably 6 innings. Because a lot of times pitchers aren't pitching the full game either.
5 innings is almost like the average.
So you're talking 5 innings,
and that's
of pitching.
if you're the starting one every 5 days.
Yeah. So if you're, I think the volume, right, is so much different for what Hunter would be expected to do, even over a 16 game.
Compared to 162.
It's pro top-notch competition. Some of those games he's playing against, he's not going against the best in the world, basically.
And which...
Travis Hunter.
Well, we're talking
about if he was in the NFL.
We're talking about if he hasn't done it. He's thinking because he's done it in college. Well, in some of those games, he was like a man against boys, and you can understand that.
100%.
But in the NFL, it's not going to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic for anybody to expect him to play 100% both ways. I just think it's not. But I see the argument both ways because, like you said, hitting a ball is considered one of the hardest things to do. Doing it at a All-Pro or whatever the MLB term is incredible to be able to play offense and defense at the highest level. But the sheer volume we're talking about, if Hunter was to play 100% both ways, like that itself would be fairly impressive, as opposed to, like I said, a pitcher who plays less than that and you're only batting 3, 4, 5 times in a game.
And the thing is baseball should hope that Shohei gets back to doing both, because I would say that he is less valuable. And I think a lot of this, I would say this is a hot take. He's less valuable when he's doing both than when he's just designated hitting.
Less valuable?
Yeah, yes. The guy is so good. Yes, he brings you a tremendous amount of value. And I would say that 99% of people would disagree with me. And I've never heard anyone with this take. But when his numbers went up exponentially as a hitter.
Okay, so you're saying
when you give him the opportunity, and then when you have him on the mound, what goes up? His percentage chance to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right? So if you just let the guy hit, what happened the 1 year, and again, totally different team. He spent his career with the Angels. The 1 year that the guy's not pitching and all he has to do is focus on hitting, doesn't even have to get out in the field, and he's on the juggernaut squad, but they win the World Series.
Yeah.
Like, why do you got to change that up? You got 20 daggum starting pitchers on the LA Dodgers, but I get it too. When you paid $700 million for someone, you're like, well, might as well,
Have they paid any of it yet? So it's been free so far. So.
Facts. One thing I'll say, too, that kind of lines up with it being harder in baseball. Now, we've had plenty of instances where in the same game in the NFL, someone has played on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. And to your point, largely, none of that is a consistent number, right? You're not going to see Travis Hunter playing both ways at the NFL level. It's just not going to happen, right? In the last 70 years, only 33 Major League Baseball players have pitched in at least 20 games and played in the field in at least 20 games in a 162-game season. So that's, and this doesn't even say season. So I could be, you know what I mean? This could be in their entire career that is like that. So it's a lot more rare. I would say it's a lot more difficult too.
Starting pitch to the.
Yeah, I mean, and you got who's is it Brett Phillips? I believe he was big with the. It wasn't a great like he wasn't a star or whatever for the Rays, but he was a guy that he was a high energy player, and he would come out of the bullpen whenever, the Rays were getting blown out and stuff. He was a fun player for the Rays. But yeah, you'll have those kind of players every now and again, but there's a big difference. Like Travis Hunter, if he's playing both ways, that guy, that he's capable of doing that because you saw it at the collegiate level. We knew Shohei, when he was coming to the league, can do both. You got a guy who played for the Florida Gators last year or the year before, Jack Caglione. Jack Tani, they called him in college. Are we going to see him play both ways in Major League Baseball? Probably not.
In the NFL, you had a guy like Fridge Perry, William Perry, the Fridge. He was the offensive lineman, and then in the Super Bowl, they gave him the ball, and he ran up the middle.
Charles Woodson?
I was going to say, maybe the Eagles, hey, let Jalen Carter carry the ball, man. Like when you're on the 1 yard line and you want to just, get a guy in the end zone, give that guy, the ball. And how you going to stop that, massive man?
Both he and Jordan Davis scored a touchdown in Athens.
There you go.
On offense.
And another guy that could be like that at the league level is he played for Ole Miss, started at Auburn, went over there to Ole Miss, J.J. Pegues.
Yeah.
I think he's another guy.
He ran some fullback drills at the combine and looked smooth at like a solid 320.
What about the linemen who were running sub 5?
Yeah, 4'8", 4'9", 40s from like 330-pound guys. Like I said, that is hauling. Like I said, hauling.
Yeah.
Literally.
You're faster than you would chase all of us down now and then crush us by the time that you got to us. My goodness gracious. We got one more segment left to go. 850-215-6290 is the number to call. We'll be right back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the most college basketball.
Three-pointer, push it in. College basketball is back.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
The SEC, ACC, and beyond.
Oh, you saw that coming, Rampant.
The biggest games play right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening, this is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Tuesday's weather forecast. Possible thunderstorms and mostly clouds tonight with a low near 63 and a wind 25 to 30 miles per hour. Sunshine tomorrow morning, a strong breeze and a temperature of 68. About the same in the afternoon and evening, around 69 with sunshine and a wind out of the west at 22 miles per hour, gusting up to 30 miles per hour. Sunny Thursday and quite warm around 63. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts and Deli. Call 763-1627.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Auburn basketball is chasing another SEC championship.
Jones a screen, stopping top three straight away. Go! It's Miles Kelly, right wing, outside the arc, working on Warren. Three. Boom! Absolute dagger.
The Tigers clash with Texas A&M in College Station. Coverage at 7:30. Tip off at 8 p.m. tonight on your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
Pound the like and crush the subscribe. Follow us on social media for the latest sports news, scores, and updates. Keeping you in the game. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back. This is the final segment of this afternoon. You're riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. beautiful Tuesday afternoon here. Don't forget to tune in to ESPN Northwest Florida in the mornings from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. with the Coach James Hale Show. And then following that, not following it directly because we'll have the Dan Patrick Show, and then leading in to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey weekdays from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. Let's get over the phone line real quick here. We got Wright State Chris on the line with us. Wright State, what's going on, my bro?
Not much, man. Just thought I'd call in for the last segment. I got no wormholes to go down. Just wanted to comment and talk what's going on and say what's up.
All right, so let's go to 90s and 2000s video. Actually, I have a question for us all, and then we can kind of see where we go from there, okay? But we'll start with you. All right, this is a college football-related question. If you don't have any feelings on it, it's okay. We'll pass it off, and we'll kind of discuss it, and then we'll bring you right back into the conversation. Which returning coach has the more intriguing storyline, I guess, if you will? Is it Scott Frost going back to UCF, or is it Rich Rodriguez going back to West Virginia?
Oh, my God. It's Rich Rod. Because Rich Rod had an opportunity to play for a national championship at West Virginia.
Pat White, baby.
They lost to Pitt in the backyard brawl when that was the year when West Virginia and South Florida were ranked 1 and 2 in the nation. And I think Missouri played for the SEC championship that year, too. It was just a crazy year in college football. I think Oklahoma ended up winning it that year, or LSU might have beaten Ohio State. I'm not sure. So obviously the big dogs came, but it's got to be Rich Rod. Scott Frost going back to UCF. Obviously, who wouldn't go back to your alma mater? But it's Rich Rod going back to West Virginia, at least in my.
And both of these guys are. They're going back to their alma mater, right? No.
Scott Frost was not at UCF.
He was at Nebraska.
Was at his alma mater.
Yeah, and he failed miserably. Yeah. And I had high hope for him, anyways.
Nebraska miserably.
That's true, but hey,
Tom Osborne,
Matt could be the rule difference.
Since Eric Crouch graduated, that's been about right.
Yeah.
I mean, 2001 was, or no. They were 90s. 98 was that the Nebraska season?
97.
97.
It was the half championship with Michigan and with Nebraska.
Yeah, I remember that vividly, being 6 years old. I hate that too sometimes. Like, some of the best college football arguments are like,
hey,
before my
Charles
time,
Woodson was on that Michigan team, so it's the perfect segue to, talking about two-way players. So.
Well, let me ask you that question. You played college baseball, and then we'll get right back to our Scott Frost and Rich Rod debate there, and we'll get to local tomorrow afternoon, because we've got a lot of scores to get into, but we're still young in the baseball season. I still got to give some love to some weightlifters, but the Travis Hunter Shohei, from your perspective, which one do you think is harder? And tell me why it's pitching and hitting.
If Travis Hunter were to successfully play both ways, like a significant amount of time on both ways, I would say that would be more remarkable, only because of the fact that cornerbacks, like, if you look at like the best athletes in the NFL right now, most of them are wide receivers. You can argue what you want, but you look at Justin Jefferson, you look at Jamar Chase, you look at all those guys. The amount of tendencies, the amount of film you have to watch to be a successful cornerback is crazy. I've listened to Sauce Gardner talk about what he had to do to become an NFL cornerback, and just like tendency breakers, like knowing like if this guy's off the ball and he's running my way and there's two wide receivers to the left of him, the quarterback does a pass this way 75% of the time. It's amazing the kind of information that they have to digest. They also say that wide receivers, especially rookie wide receivers that can't read defenses, which obviously Travis Hunter could read a defense better, just knowing that there are different, Tyler could speak to this more than I can, but at NFL they have...
He's a prognosticator.
They have different routes based on they have route trees based on the
coverage.
Yeah, exactly. And just being able to read those consistently, and the amount of tape and everything that you need to do, I think that would be much more difficult. Shohei, being able to execute pitches that his catcher calls, while awesome, it's not Greg Maddux up there, like knowing all the different batters he's going to go through. So but you have to be able to execute those pitchers. You have to be able to execute like 3 or 4 pitches at a plus rating, whereas you might not be able to. Hitting the baseball is still the hardest thing to do in all sports. But but I agree with what you said, Dave. I think he's more valuable as a DH because he's a better hitter that way, and especially in that lineup. That lineup is crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. When you say that the World Series team from last year has a better roster this year, actually, when you look at the World Series participants in the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers, both of those teams have better rosters. Now, you can make the argument for the Yankees. Maybe they don't because they lost Juan Soto, but I think what they gained through the loss, especially with just Beards alone, right, that the Yankees are in a better spot than what they were last year, provided that starting rotation can be right up there. So yeah, and that's a very interesting take, because I really did think you were going to be going with the baseball side of it, because hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in all the sports outside of maybe hitting a golf ball, which is stationary. I mean, yeah. Right? For real. And especially if we're talking about at the professional level. And pitching is, it's not very easy, and it's not easy on your arm either. But that is a great point. I would say wide receiver might not be you got to have the IQ, you got to have, and not just know what the coverage is, but they disguise coverages. Sometimes it'll look like a cover 3, but it's a cover 2. Sometimes we're going to show you a little cover 2 up top, but guess what? It's man, and then we're going to go into a cover 1, and then, there's so many different things, and you got to be, so many different things that you got to look for. But on the flip side of that, being a defensive back, and not just a defensive back, a cornerback has got to be one of the toughest things to do in all the sports as well, because like you said, there's some of the best athletes on the world on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage that you're having to deal with.
And it's not like he's going to be like a nickel corner. It's not like they're bringing in...
like a plug-and-play type deal.
Yeah, well, who the dudes that Belichick would play on the defensive side of the ball. It's not like you had, who was the second wide receiver he had there?
Amendola?
From Penn State. Yeah, no, from the one from the MAC. He was the quarterback in the MAC.
Julian Edelman.
Yeah. Yeah, Edelman played.
You got to go Amendola. You got to go Wes Welker. You got to go Julian Edelman.
The third one. But Edelman played deep, but it was like nickel coverage, and you had that other guy that played nickel. If you're playing every down back as a cornerback, that is 100% of your mindfulness the entire time. And baseball, like Tyler said, if you're only hitting once every, every 4 or 5 times a game, you can start picking up on the pitches or talking to the dude or getting the tendencies from the pitcher. You're watching those videos.
Or your little iPad. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got advanced scouting going out there saying, all right, in these counts, this is what he throws to left-handed pitchers, and leverage counts, or if someone's in the scoring position with this many outs. You've got all that advanced metrics that you can look up and kind of know, and then you kind of have an idea of going into it. But, Shohei's already proven that he knows how to hit, so all that other stuff is it's not like he goes into the season not knowing how to hit. He knows how to hit, so the advanced metrics help him out even more so. So it's just, I don't know. But going back to the baseball thing, all it takes is some bums from Philadelphia to ruin your season anyway.
Amen. Hey, we're going to leave you on that note. Right, State Chris, that was a great way to end the call. We only got a few more minutes here. So, again, thank you. Love you too, brother. Always a great time. Need to get you back in here during college baseball season. Back to you, Tyler. Switching gears one more time like we have been throughout the entirety of this show this afternoon. And we're going back to which returning coach has the better storyline in front of them. Is it Scott Frost or is it Rich Rodriguez?
I want to say it's Scott Frost because of the redemption arc.
Yeah.
Like what we were talking about. He went to his alma mater. He was going to try to bring him back. Failed miserably.
Well, no, they got a championship in 2017. Says so in their stadium.
No, I'm talking about Nebraska.
Gotcha.
He went back to his alma mater to bring them back to.
Gotcha.
And now it's okay, he failed miserably, and he's been really kind of MIA since, right?
Oh, he failed miserably.
Rich Rodriguez had pretty good years last few years at Jacksonville State.
I mean, good enough. Oh, yeah, at Jacksonville State. Yeah. Good enough at West Virginia to be considered for the Alabama job.
Michigan, whatever. But he's been successful recently. Like Scott Frost, what everybody last knows him is getting fired from his alma mater.
Right.
So, I think that redemption cycle, I think there's that storyline is a little bit more intriguing. Is Scott Frost like the Scott Frost of 2017, or is he the Scott Frost what we saw at Nebraska?
Right.
I think that's where it really gets kind of intriguing.
Caveman Rick, I know that you're not as big of a college football fan as you are the rest of the sports that we cover here on the Afternoon Underdogs, but is there one of these coaches that the storyline is kind of more intriguing to you?
For me, I'm not so much. Probably just the Rich Rodriguez thing, just because of the luck that he's had going around. He's the guy that probably could have, should have done something with his career, coaching, but really didn't yet.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing because of that, I would say him.
I think I'm going to align with Wright State Chris and Caveman Rick there, where I think that is Rich Rodriguez. I think that there's also other ties there. Rich Rodriguez was the guy when they said Nick Saban was going to be the coach. I was like, man, I really wanted Rich Rodriguez, because I did. All right, yeah, he won at LSU, but I don't want no LSU guy coming to Alabama. That's asinine to me, So Rich Rodriguez, for the sake that what he was able to do with West Virginia was impressive. What Scott Frost was able to do with UCF was also very impressive. And he says that he's not going to leave West Virginia how he did them the last time. So I think that in and of itself is a fun storyline, right? Because now you have both of these coaches are going to be playing against each other.
Yeah,
right?
That's going to be.
They're in the Big 12 together. So that's going to be interesting. But Rich Rod, let's say year 1, year 2, both of them 10-plus win seasons. Finds his way into the playoff one year. Let's not say Michigan this time. Let's go to, another university. There's not many on the same. Let's say Florida opens up. Let's say Billy Napier in 2 years. Like he survives this year, but then after the next year, fired. Florida comes calling. Florida or West Virginia?
It's hard not to say Florida.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest. Florida's got better resources, SEC over the, Big
He's going to
12.
say, West Virginia, you're not home again.
Man, so I was at so Georgia played West Virginia the 2005 Sugar Bowl, actually in Atlanta.
So you saw Pat White play?
So it was Pat White, Steve Slade, but it was actually in Atlanta that year because of Katrina. I was at the game. We lost. So hate Rich Rod for that. Hate Rich Rod for not taking the Bama job because we could have avoided Nick Saban for that.
Right? And maybe Mark Frick or Coach Frick would have got it done.
But no, that 07 season with West Virginia was one of the craziest seasons. I mean, like Rice State Chris was saying, like West Virginia and USF were both ranked to the top 2 at one point. Missouri was still in the Big 12 at that point. I think they lost to Kansas like the last week of the season. That knocked them out of the playoff race. LSU lost twice in overtime. But because Les Miles famously said, "Oh, we're undefeated in regulation." Ended up going to play Ohio State in the with the Sugar Bowl and beating them. And Craig Krenzel was their quarterback that year. Name drop for you from blast from the past, but. Yeah, that was just part of the SEC's run of dominance of national championships at that point.
Another great Tuesday show. You guys tune in to us tomorrow afternoon at 4. We're going to have AG, we'll have Banji, and we'll have Morgan Hilliard. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I. Y'all have a great afternoon.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Well, I'm Wildcat on the Coach James Hale Show, and without missing a beat, the guy turns around and looks at me and says, "It really sucks to be